Hello everyone, I'm Lynn and welcome to my channel. Today's topic is how to be a loner. I will be using the residents as reference, particularly the characters A.B. Wynter and Cordelia, Detective Cordelia Cupp. The residents, not to be confused with the resident, is a drama slash comedy slash mystery series on Netflix, and it has Cordelia Cupp, who investigates the murder of A.B. Wynter, which happens in the White House during the state dinner. Though I am not going into depth about the series itself, I just want to alert you that this will be a spoiler. So I will be doing somewhat deep dive into the characters, and it will spoil the series for you if you haven't watched this. So go to watch it first, or if you want to stick around and watch this first before you go into the series, that's also fine. But be aware that I am going to be giving spoilers of the show. In this video, I am not going to be talking about the crime itself. I am not going to be talking about the investigation. I'm not going to be doing any Easter eggs. And this is just solely psychological analysis of the characters. I am not a psychologist by profession. However, I do like analyzing people's psychology. And I'm also a fellow loner, so I know a bit about the two characters and how they sort of emulate and communicate with people in society and social settings. When I do the parallels between A.B. Wynter and Cordelia Cupp, I am going to be talking about Cordelia Cupp pretending a lot. But this is not to say that this is not her real personality. I just feel like she created something whereas she can connect with people. This is solely that. It's not to say that she is pretentious, but it's to say that maybe this personality is an extension of herself. But there is the real self that is hidden. So just a heads up, I am going to be saying that quite a lot. The show itself is so exceptional that we are consumed by who the perpetrator is. So much so that we sort of overlook that the perfectionism and ability to make decisions by A.B. is a deep-rooted loneliness and wanting to control the only aspects in his life where he feels wanted, which is the White House. Although I had mentioned before that I will not be using any psychology terms or jargons, I just want to say that A.B. falling in love or giving service and giving his life to an inanimate object proves that he is dealing with high functioning depression. This is when you hide your depression and you sort of use it to do other things, take care of other things so that it is suppressed and you do not have to deal with the real emotions of pain inside of you, and you don't need to require love from something that is not alive. I just want to point out three things before I begin with the characters analysis. And the first one being that death is very serious. Yes, it is a comedic show. However, I think that you are going to be so hypnotized by how amazing this show is that you forget that a death has happened. You are going to see how many times they're going to go back to the body, and as they tell their stories about where they were, their alibis and their relationships with A.B. and the actual murder, you're going to see them go back to the body. You're going to see A.B. before his hours of death, and you're going to forget that a death has happened. The second thing I want to point out is the fact that a lot of the suspects are his actual co-workers or people who work under him or with him. So it's a professional setting, and though I understand that you are in a workplace, it sort of gives into this idea that we have in real life in society, that you are just a number when you are in the workplace, and it makes me feel a tad uncomfortable that no emotion is given to A.B.'s death. It's like, oh, AB's death. Okay, let me just go wash the dishes. And it's very odd. Yes, it does happen in real life too, but it is still very odd. Just because something occurs a lot, it doesn't mean that it is right. And the third thing that I want to point out, which is in correspondence to what I said before just now, is that nobody cries for AB. In fact, whenever they cry, it is because of guilt. And this is prominent in where Lily is caught, and everyone knows that she is now the perpetrator. So she cries, and this is the first and only time that she cries for AB. I feel like it is very insensitive, and this is no fault to the writers. I am going to mention this a lot because it doesn't mean that the writers are bad or the show is bad. The show is still a great show, okay? So I'm just pointing these out. And also, like, it's also is a reflection of the society we live in right now, where everything is just about getting to where you want to go, that you shut down whenever you hear sad news, and you cannot react appropriately as a human being when you receive something that is disturbing. One thing that the people in the White House who are working there had in common is that they were very selfish when it came to AB. They were very disrespectful to him, and nobody considered him. So it was a very interesting dynamic, and I sort of feel like the disrespect itself didn't even feel like the normal disrespect that you and I would give to each other. It was sort of like AB would be the father figure, and then they were just like the little brats who just wanted what they wanted when they wanted, and AB had to eventually say yes to them.
He could be very uncompromising.
No. We were always super cool.
He was like a father to me.
Now, AB was in a very tricky situation because he wanted to make everyone happy. It's just that the people wanted his approval so bad that they showed it in a very strange way, and AB also just wanted to make them happy. He also showed it in a very strange way. So there was a very there was so much disconnect to who AB was and who the people were and what they wanted from each other for all of this to work. And they were stressing him out so bad that even when they heard that it was a possibility, a very high possibility that it was a suicide, no one was surprised. No one flinched. That's how bad it was. So that is a very sad way to look at things, that, oh yeah, he must have been so stressed that we pushed him to that point of being suicidal. This also speaks to how society tends to punish those who are strict, those who are uptight, and society rewards charisma and it rewards people who are happy-go-lucky. So when you are a person who is very strict and people cannot come to you for anything, then it sort of justifies bad things happening to you. And also the whole idea that if you do not have emotions, then it means that you do not feel anything when things go wrong or you are hurt, and people do not know how to relate to that aspect of you.
I am going to be dead by the end of the night.
This scene is very imperative to AB's character. He did not lack emotion, he just did not know how to show people. It shows that he was very intuitive and deeply sensitive because he knew that he was going to die. He just struggled to display emotions to other people. Now, the first character that I want to bring forth is the only character I feel like really respected AB and saw him as a person, and this is Angie. Now, Angie did mention that she was AB's best friend, saying was because obviously in the show AB dies, and I really was feeling like I felt good about it. It was heartwarming to just reflect on the fact that at the very least he had someone who saw him as a human being who loved him. But until I learned that, or until I thought about the fact that earlier that night when AB and Angie were having a conversation, this would be the first time that Angie learns that AB's parents died when he was only 11 years old. Now, this upsets me. I was very angry when I was thinking about it, because if you were someone's best friend, how is it that you do not know such an important piece of information? But this is also not to say that the writers are wrong for doing this, and this is also not to shame Angie, because I do know for a fact that when you are alone, you are a person who sort of hides very important information sometimes. Maybe you feel like you are going to be shamed for it. Maybe you feel like you will not receive the appropriate amount of affection when it comes to that, or it will not be treated as something of importance and something to be careful about, So I'm not faulting the writers or Angie, but it could be also AB's fault.
How long ago did you lose him?
54 years this March.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry, AB. How old were you?
11. He and my mom died in a car crash when I was 11.
The second character I want to bring forth is the head butler guy, Mr. Rowley. Now, Mr. Rowley is an interesting character because I just sensed that, or I had a feeling that he would be the homie, one of AB's closest people, but he really was not. And the assumption came from, of course, they're both black men and they were in each other's, like they were doing similar jobs, so they would be interacting a lot. But quite disappointed that they were just colleagues, and it ended there. But I was particularly surprised also that Jasmine and him were very, very close. I mean, he was the very first person, or one of the first people who Jasmine expressed disappointment in when she heard that AP was no longer retiring from the White House, or was staying a bit longer than she had anticipated. She was very, very angry that AP was not leaving. So I was a bit perplexed that when he received the news, he was like, oh yeah, he's dead.
What?
By the way, Jasmine is gunning for his job, so yeah, take it or leave it. It was just very weird how he received the news and how he just did not affect him at all. The third person I want to bring forth is the head chef. Now, he's a very interesting character also. So he made this big gingerbread house and apparently makes it every year. But this particular year, he did not have the opportunity to sort of present it to the people who come to the White House and celebrate the festivities with the people in the White House. And it's because of what Lily wanted. She wanted to change the theme and make it more modern. And because of that back and forth she had with AP, which it was not so much a back and forth. She was just instructing AP that this is how things are gonna go and so forth. But after that discussion, AP then decided that the gingerbread house would be a no-go, and it was sent to a place where nobody would see it or appreciate it. And this very year was the year where the chef made this little cake of AB, and he would be part of the White House, which he showed AB. Now, it was a very sweet gesture, and it's only ended terribly because someone made a miniature knife to go with that little man and stabbed AB in the back. So even though it was not him, I tend to ask myself this: what were his intentions when he did that? I do not trust it, because also remember there was a new chef that came in and it sort of looked like or seemed like he wanted approval from AB or wanted AB to speak up for him. But understanding AB, it just would not happen. And he faulted him so bad that it would not have been a surprise if he were the one who sort of killed AB. And it's funny, the knife thing, because he was the one whose knife was found to be the one that slit AB's wrist. This is so crazy to me. It is very important that I mention Jasmine. Now, Jasmine was working right under AB Wynter, and I would assume that she would know more about him better than anyone else, only because they were the closest professionally, and she was gunning for this role for the chief usher. She knew very well it was something that was unsaid, but it was very evident that she would be the next person, the successor to AB. So when AB would eventually leave his post, then she would be the one who would come next. And she was so casual about it. And yes, she was the one who was taking Miss Cupp through the rooms and telling her what the dynamics are like in the house. But I think that she did that because she was saving her butt. Now, her character is very interesting because it displays how someone is willing to do anything to get a certain job or be in a certain position. And this is the capitalism world that we live in, where it doesn't really matter what happens for you to leave something for someone to step in, as long as they get there. And it is a sense of relief that it was not her who did the murder. However, I think that she did not feel anything or any shame, or she did not feel bad for AB dying, because it was sort of a relief on both sides that she was not the person that would be sentenced to go to jail, and the other part is that she is definitely getting the job. So AB had to die, I guess. The last person I would like to bring up and talk about is Federal Agent Edwin Park. Now, Federal Agent Edwin Park is just, I think he works in the shadow of Cordelia Cupp. He just follows her around. But ultimately, he's the person who makes the ruling that AB committed suicide. And this is why I consider him the most dangerous person in the whole room. Because given all the facts and everything that has been presented, he was the one who was investigating with her. How could he make a decision like that? And I know that it is based on his ego. He was very upset that Cordelia didn't really consider him or belittled him and was very disrespectful. But he made it like he put the case in a position where AB Wynter would not get justice and no one would be sent to jail for actually killing him because of his own ego. And it is problematic to do that. Now, I'm just going to tie in this situation with Jasmine, because Jasmine was very, very nervous that she would be one who would be sent to jail, only because I feel like once that ruling was made that AB Wynter killed himself, then it was fair game for everyone. Everyone was now a suspect should the case be open. Because imagine in a room where there are a lot of facts about what has happened, where everyone was, and people decide that this is a suicide. This means that everyone now has the potential to be arrested. And it is a very tricky thing, because if Cordelia Cupp does not connect the dots as to who killed AB Wynter, then anyone could be the perpetrator in that instance. And this is very dangerous for him to have done that and rule it out as a suicide, even when facts are given to everyone about what transpired that night and why it could have not been a suicide. Now, Federal Agent Edwin is a problematic figure and represents people who are in power but do not speak out for others just because of how they feel. It's almost like the emotions get the best of them, and it is about how they want to be seen in that moment. And having presented everything, he just decides that it's going to be a certain way. And this also plays out when you are a black sheep in an entity, in a family, in whatever role you are playing in society. And when people present things, when there are a lot of things happening, the information that is given, the facts that are given. So regardless of what the facts are, this person then decides what your fate is. And this is very dangerous, and this placed everyone in a very dangerous position where even the innocent person would have been jailed. The only person who cared about A.B. Wynter was Cordelia Cupp. And this is because they basically are the same person, and I'm going to get into why and how. I just want to talk a bit about the writers before I get into that. What I am very curious about, and if I would have the opportunity to talk to the writers that did The Residents, I would want to know if they intentionally made the characters lack emotion. Now, this would be intentional because this is a professional space, it's a professional setting, right? And they are in the White House. I would assume because they are media trained, they are not allowed to show a great sense of emotion, especially if it's not elation, right? So maybe it was done intentionally. I am curious about that. And also, I just feel like A.B.'s story wasn't told, and I feel some type of way about the episode on the engineer. Now, the episode on the engineer was also a very important part of the series because it sort of showed his involvement, and it also creates this assumption that he could also be the perpetrator. And I like that they did that because of how it keeps you tuned, it keeps you alive, it makes you think about maybe he could be the perpetrator, and with good reason, I guess. But even with that, the engineer falls in love with the cleaner. They did not even like finish that story. I was so wrapped up in that love story, and I always wonder how they would have ended up, or maybe it's just one of those things where it's like they did not tie up that loose end. But I feel robbed only because the engineer story did not make space for A.B.'s story. We know nothing about A.B. even towards the end. Only Angie speaks highly of him, and Cordelia does at the very end. And I am curious if the writers saw that there was a gap in which A.B. was not presented well, and they thought it would be a good thing for Cordelia to have this monologue where she talks about A.B., it was very brilliant, and it made the show, it gave it so much substance, because this is more than just something to be excited about, that you are investigating this crime, right? This is someone that we are now getting attached to, because episode after episode we are seeing this man, we are seeing how he shows up for others, we are seeing how he acts, how he behaves, and we are seeing how important the White House is to him. Detective Cordelia Cupp is the only one who stood up for AB. And this monologue was very profound and important to the series itself, because in all of this, no one spoke highly of AB in the way that she did, and no one talked about the loss of losing such a diligent worker, someone who had integrity, who loved the White House, who lived and died for the White House. And this is how she presented the speech, and also showing the president that this is the worker that you have lost. And no one really talks about the aftermath. It's only that Jasmine got into the office and now she is the chief usher. It's very shallow of everyone to think and feel that way. And the way Detective Cupp does it, I loved it so much. And this, I'm giving praise to Uzo Aduba for this, because in the way that she did it, it showed how Cordelia Cupp was also struggling with connecting with people, and this was somewhat her real personality. This was not a joke. This was very authentic and real and serious now. And you can sort of feel in the room that the energies are getting uncomfortable. And this is where she switches from that seriousness and she jumps back into her quirkiness, where she just tells someone to arrest Lily. And I think it's a very interesting way to go about things. I'm struggling a bit to understand Cordelia, only because I do not know if this is her real personality, but I think that it is. I think that she jumps from one personality to another according to the environment. So she is someone who typically adapts. So this would be someone who is deeply loving of her company, but she does understand that she needs people, and she does do what she needs to in order for them to take her seriously. Uzo Aduba's performance in The Residence is underrated, and this is not because no one has mentioned it or talked about it, but also I'm seeing how she carries each and every character in the room. I feel like she has a particular way in which she creates this chemistry with each and every of the characters, and she just carries everyone, and she is very understanding of what her role is or what her character is, and it just exudes so much confidence, so much power. It's a quiet power, but it's like a confidence that cannot be duplicated, and it makes me wonder where she gets that from. They don't really show much of her childhood or how she became how she was, because some people can be nerds like her, but they struggle with taking up the room, and she does that. She is more of a person who's like, hey, I'm here. I'm here, and what I say goes. And not everyone can do that. It is a very interesting way of choreography. I love it, and I love her acting so much. And this is from someone who cannot determine between a bad and a good actor, but I can tell when someone is absolutely brilliant. They are both perfectionists, and you can see with Cordelia Cupp in how she dresses. She is a brown person. Okay, wait. I'm not talking about her racial identity. She's just dressed in brown all of the time. Her shirt is crisp, white, and ironed. And this is a reflection of someone who is very serious about what they do. They take their job seriously. And with AB Wynter, you see that he's a perfectionist because he wants things to go the way that everything was discussed. It's just that they present themselves in a very different way, but very much perfectionist. To add on to that point, they take their jobs seriously. And with Cordelia Cupp, she does thorough investigation. She doesn't leave any stone unturned. And with AB, his problem is that he takes his job a little bit too seriously, and his job is his entire personality. It's who he is. And there are people like this in society who their job is who they are, and that's it. And without their jobs, they do not have any identity.
For a baked potato. Do you know what a baked potato is? There's a difference between a baked potato and a French fry. And when they ask for an English muffin, it's not toast.
Second point, they are both voice of the people, Amandla. So I relate to that. I am a person who speaks up for others. With Cordelia Cupp, it's more of she speaks for those who are not spoken for, and it's evident because she is going after the fact that AB was killed, and she did not believe it for a second that it was suicide. She just wanted to make sure that justice was served. And with AB, yes, he is voice of the people because obviously people answer to him. However, he is the type of person who takes up everyone's information, and based on what he gathered, he then makes a decision. So he is a fair person, but to his detriment, because he wants to make everyone happy, and it is impossible. You cannot make everyone happy. You have to make decisions based on what works best for a particular situation. Both characters were observant. AB Wynter was judgmental or came across as judgmental, and that was his downfall, because this is why people did not like him. Yes, they seeked his approval, but they did not like him as a person. But with Detective Cordelia, she gave room for people to be themselves, and this is what created the connection, or what made people like her so much. And with her being herself, also remember her being a person who does birding and being very expressive and being open about it. She loved it so much that her hobby had to be of someone's interest. When you are yourself, you give room to people to be themselves too. So no one knew what AB Wynter's interests were outside of the White House, and reading here and there and journaling here and there. It's like, be a human being, and that's how people can be people to you. So AB Wynter and Ms. Cupp, they both do not understand people. Ms. Cupp uses birds. AB Wynter uses his very job to analyze the the behavior patterns of people. And I generally use like fashion, style. I use like people's appearance, but not all the time, and not solely that, because we could be wrong about people. I mean, if that was the case, then people would be very wrong about me. But what I'm getting at is that when you are a loner, you struggle very much to understand people, because you do not spend a lot of time with people. So you use other avenues to connect with them. So with this series, you'll see how Detective Cupp uses bird references a lot to connect why a person would do what they do and how exactly they would do that. I feel like that is a very smart way of doing things. But with AB, he would struggle, because if you are studying people from a professional level only, then you do not get to know them outside of that setting, right? Both characters journal, but the difference is that A.B. Wynter keeps his feelings to himself, so no one knows what he is thinking, and Cordelia shares with the class. So after she finds something, she shares with the appropriate people, and I feel like that is where she gets it right. And Cordelia is smart because it's not that she is an extrovert, but she acts like an extrovert to sort of bridge that gap between her being a weirdo and her being a normal person. And she uses her being quirky to sort of make people, to invite people into her space, right? And one thing I want to talk about also is that when Cordelia Cupp eventually finds A.B.'s diary, she talks about the fact that A.B. has very pleasant things to say about the people in the White House. And I'm bringing that up because A.B. does not share these findings or doesn't share how he truly feels about people, which is a missed opportunity of connection. If I am proud of you, I must say that I'm proud of you because it sort of creates this area of emotional attachment, So the example also is that when the engineer finally got the plumbing rights for Mr. President, who wanted scorching hot water, right? When he showers. When they left the room, he was so chuffed with, like, he was so proud of himself for doing that. And AP was just like, whatever room needs plumbing services or it has a plumbing issue. And this is a missed opportunity for them to connect. He didn't say well done. He didn't say I'm so proud of you, or oh my gosh, we've been working on this for weeks. He didn't say any of that. And it is quite heartbreaking to move like that. He is an a-hole sometimes, but I feel like he doesn't see or understand that he is. Yeah. Cordelia Cupp takes time to isolate and be on her own, but AB isolates just because it is what is appropriate during that moment. So when the job is done, he is just on his own, and because he doesn't invest in certain relationships within the house, he spends a lot of time alone. His only friend is Angie. But I want to bring up the fact that he loves he loves the White House so much, but it is not shown that he loves the White House in the degree that he does, because he's just so closed off. But if he really did value it that much, then he could have built these relationships. And I think that's why there is no trade-off of emotions. In a way, that's why people do not cry or feel anything for AP, because AP was the type of person who would not display any emotions around whatever events or people that were around him. Like the back and forth with her going into the White House and then doing birding, she knows when it is time to be alone, and when it is time to socialize, she knows that she needs to get into character to connect with people. That works very well for her. Whereas AB, I feel like there is a lot of missing information about why he is the way he is, and we can account it to the fact that he lost his parents at a very young age. However, what about the in-betweens? Did he try to open up to someone and then got burned and then decided that, no, I'm never gonna do this? Also, when he breaks down the news to Angie that his parents died when he was barely a teen, he does this thing where he tries to cry, but he doesn't cry. And I'm not sure if it's because he doesn't want to show Angie emotion, or if this is just the way he is. It's a very interesting thing to think about, that there are so many possibilities of what AB could or must have been. So yeah.
They were good parents.
Again, pointing out the fact that they both have different personalities. And like I said, I'm not sure if Cordelia Cupp is the way she is, or this is just a personality that she built for her protection. Remember also that when you are charismatic, society protects you and rewards you. But when you are a person who's closed off, you do like get bitten in the butt sometimes, and this was the issue. So Cordelia Cupp was very expressive, and she did it the best way she could, and to be expressive and almost childlike. She had a childlike attitude, but she was very precise, and with her knowing when to show up and when to be strict, it made people trust her even more. Whereas AB was just closed off and relied on his job to be an authoritative figure. The family part is a very sore part for me, because there is no other information we know about AB outside of the fact that he works in the White House and his parents died when he was 11. So we do not know about how he was when he was a teenager, the connections he made when he was an adult, like was he in a romantic relationship, did he have friends, and his life outside of the White House. Does he go to concerts? You know, like, what are his interests outside of losing in a board game with Angie and doing his job? Whereas Cordelia, we see her going birding. So she uses her interests to connect with people, and particularly her nephew. We see this in certain scenes where she teaches this lesson of patience because they are looking for a particular bird, right? But she has a family and she has people around her in a way, because she knows how to interact with people, and she knows when to do so.
You're always giving me shit. Why don't you have a family? That's why. I had a family.
There are many lessons to be learned in this series on that level of psychology, and it's very sad that the White House was everything to AB. However, when it was time for them to stand up for him, they let him down, and there was only one person who sort of brought justice to this case. Yeah, that's a wrap, guys. If there's anything else I have missed about the character analysis, please do let me know. But I didn't do Lily because, like, Lily Lily upsets me, and the fact that she was the one who killed AB, it just cheapened the death itself. Like, taking a life because of your own selfish needs, and it wasn't even that deep. It wasn't even because she felt betrayed by him. She was in no position to feel that way because she was not connected to him in any way. So I don't know. I'm just I feel like I disregard the character because I don't like the character. Not that I don't like the actor. I don't like the character. And I don't know if I'm groomed by both AB and Cordelia because they both were very shifty about Slily. Yeah, it was like, oh, okay, like, she killed him.
Wow.
Yeah. I would like to end the video with the quote, "Those who are hardest to love need it the most." So in as much as people who have difficult personalities are hard to get along with, they need the love most. And yes, AB is a difficult character, but I know that we have ABs in this world. I really correlate with both characters, AB and Cordelia Cupp, because I can switch my personality, but sometimes I really can go into my own shell. With AB being who he is makes a lot of sense, because if you think about it, losing your parents pre-teens kind of stands on the fundamental development of your emotional growth. So did he really grow up, or did he grow around his trauma and build an armor and build his personality according to how we need to interact professionally? So I do give him grace based on that. Essentially, what I'm getting at is that we need to be kinder to those who seem a bit standoffish or, a bit cold. Not all the time though, because sometimes it is just a person being rude, right? But we do not know the struggles the next person is going through. As a loner myself who sees the personality in both AB Wynter and Cordelia Cupp, I want to say that I have learned so much in this show about how I show up myself, and there are a lot of lessons to be learned, and also pointers from Cordelia Cupp and how she operates. There is so much I would have liked to add regarding The Residents. It is rich and is multi-layered. I just want to say that my favorite character was Colin Trask. Now, he was very funny, he was very offbeat, and I like that about him. It gave me a sense that he wanted the job because of the perks of meeting and interacting with celebrities, which we don't really talk about. Like, your job, you just want to honor it and all those things, but what about getting the job because of the excitement around it? He's very fun. I also want to add that though I do mention Uzo Aduba a lot, every single actor pulled their weight. So to end this, well done to the Residents team, and we cannot wait for the second season. Okay, this is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, please comment, please subscribe to my channel. I will see you in the next video. Peace.